Welcome, man. We back with the Dad Podcast, man. Little man can't join us today. He's in school, I always say books over everything. But, today, man, we joining on today, man, right day after the big Lakers win. So, got to salute my boys. And, I start this podcast because Mr. Lake himself, Kobe Bean, like I tell everybody on every podcast, man, without him, it'll be hard for me to find motivation in certain times in my life. But one thing that kept me motivated was the young guys I worked with, the young guys I seen grow up. And this guest right here is another one, man. Boys and Girls Club days, only for Boys and Girls Club days. And this man was different because a lot of times when I seen all these kids talking about they want to do sports, they want to do this, I felt like my guest today was playing chess while they were all playing checkers. He was strategic with his moves. And a lot of the things he was doing was always creeping in the shadows, man. His next move was always coming, whether it been dodgeball or foursquare or capture the flag. When they go for the flag, he creeps around the corner. This is what he's doing now. He's creeping up in the business world where everyone's talking about their next move. He's just slowly making his moves. And now he's got his first book out, and I'm proud of him. I haven't seen him and talked to him in a while, but as soon as I seen what he was doing, I had to bring him on and give him his roses because a lot of times when someone does something great on the ball field, we stop everything and give them their respect and give them their roses. But when people do stuff in the business world, or if they do stuff outside of sports, we don't give them the same respect. But not me, man. I got to give him the respect, give him his roses, and bring him on and tell him how proud of him I am. So Farouke, man, welcome. I'm proud of you, man. And congratulations on the book coming out and success. But first and foremost, man, welcome.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much for just having me. I mean, that was a great intro.
No
Playing
problem.
at the Boys and Girls Club, all those games. I definitely was always plotting, always playing. So it was a good time, man. I've known you since I was what, 12, 13, probably 11.
12, 13, yeah. Still remember, running around with you, Jeffrey Myers, Tutu.
Yeah.
Guys running around. I see a SI doing big things now, man.
Yeah.
And the crazy part is, we just lost one of our Boys and Girls Club guys, man, with Saeed, man. It's just
Recipe for Saeed, man.
definitely, and it's sad to see. And it's like that's to me, 2020 was definitely a hard one because losing for me, like Kobe was everything with me, and when he passed, that's when I started looking at life different.
Right.
For 2020, like how do you feel about 2020? What did you take out of it?
Man, so much. I mean, the Kobe passing was earlier in the year, and I think it kind of made us all stop and think. I mean, sometimes I even feel like he's still here. Like he was just a superhero. So I guess that was the first part. And the second part that I learned is just getting away from everything. And obviously I lived in New York. I live in New York now. Obviously you don't know that, like anyone who's watching this doesn't know, but 8 years ago, I moved from Providence to New York. It's actually about to be 9 years now soon. But I made that move, and you never have time to stop. Like I made that move when I was really young. I just graduated college, and then I finally kind of had time to stop last year and like stop doing all the New York stuff and going out all the time and everything. And I've always been an ambitious person who's like getting certain things done, so I'm always thinking in that way. But just being able to stop gave me that extra time to think, and that like kind of gave me a chance to really plot out my moves and plot out what I want to do next, which is kind of where the book came from, because I was like, I think the biggest thing I took away outside of like, man, anything can happen at any time from like the Kobe situation. I think the biggest thing I took away was just sometimes you need to take a step back and really be just intentional about what you're doing. And that's basically what I did. I said, I want to be intentional, come out with a book. I have a follow-up plan and other products and other things behind it that are coming. So that was basically it. Those are the big things. I guess long answer made short is appreciate the people who are here and be intentional in what you're doing. It's okay to take some time, take a step back, all that good stuff.
I had on my guy Diego on yesterday. He made the same move. He's out in Brooklyn now.
Yeah.
And he's been there for about 7 years. And he was saying what the adjustment was going into a fast-paced world and everything shutting down in New York.
Yep.
You pick up any new little talents while you've been COVID in?
Man, a lot. So when you ask me that question, I just think of like all the projects I've done. Because first, I mean, my background also, I probably should have said this before, is in the big advertising agency world. So up until like the end of last year, I was working in agencies, like some of the biggest ones in the world. If anyone's familiar with agencies, I worked for Ogilvy and Mather, Havas Worldwide, Young and Rubicam, Wonderman Thompson Health, and they work on brands like Pfizer, Rolex, American Express, Nationwide Insurance. So the biggest guys, the biggest you can get in the world. So that's a blessing right there. But obviously outside of work, everybody's always doing something. So I've always had projects. So long story short, when you asked me that question, I immediately thought of like my outside of work projects, because obviously I've learned about marketing and branding from these big prestigious agencies. Thank God. I thank God every day for the experience. But outside, I did the Food Photography Summit, which was, I interviewed 25 food photographers from around the world. This was in 2017. And some of the best ones. There's people from Italy, Australia, Jamaica, India, Thailand, in New York, in Atlanta, everywhere. So through that, I kind of learned and started playing in that food photography space. I also had a food blog called Beyond the Eats, which is how I started shooting video 5 years ago. Just going out when I finally had a job in New York that allowed me to make enough money to go out and eat. I started going out and just realizing, like, number one, I love the restaurant scene. I love hospitality. It's one of my biggest hobbies. I have a pretty nice bar at home and all that good stuff. But I started going out, and then I realized how restaurant owners are like kind of overlooked. It's a really hard job to go in and day out, and you have this system set up. You're dealing with angry customers and all that stuff. So I started a food blog called Beyond the Eats. So what comes to mind, the biggest things I picked up in New York during that time is the marketing skills, the branding skills, the food photography, getting into hospitality, and then of course video now.
I know, like right now, especially with COVID and everything, you learn to respect the food business even more. Because I got about 3 friends in the restaurant business, and here in the hall right now, they're struggling to find help. They can't find anybody who wants to work, and
Yep.
they're hurting. And then now, the state opens back up full capacity, but they don't have the employees for full capacity. And it's just a tough business, and that's why I respect them and I salute those guys who are out there, making those meals for us, making those drinks. But a lot of times it's the behind the scenes people that, they go under the radar. They don't get those credit.
Yep.
And now for you, I know, like, you got a big support system that's proud of you. And I know, like, one person in particular is your big brother had him on. And
Yeah.
sometimes, you can't really be nothing without the support. So what was his inspiration and his support for you?
Man, it's so much, man. I don't think I did half the stuff I did if it wasn't for him.
Mhm.
Just because he's a go-getter. Before I lived in New York, he lived in New York for 7, 8 years. So me as like little brother, his youngest brother, I saw him doing that.
Mhm.
So like, even that was probably actually around the time when I was at the Boys and Girls Club, around the time I met you. He's in New York hustling, killing the real estate game, writing books. He wrote a book, so he made it possible for me to write a book. He's put together these big events in Rhode Island, in New York, everywhere. Now what he's doing with Bow Street. So definitely one of my biggest inspirations. He definitely throughout my life has helped me see what is possible and helped me even actually, now that I'm talking about it, on his past birthday, I told this story. I like wrote up a half long story on my Instagram story. And like one of the memories that like I never talk about, and obviously now I'm starting to talk about it more with him, is one of my fondest memories is every once in a while he would take me like on a drive around when I was really young, and we would go to like all these houses like deep on the east side, East Greenwich, all these neighborhoods where we weren't affording to buy a house at the time. So he would take me and then just say like, this house could be yours, this could be yours, any of these could be yours, and don't let anyone tell you like they can't be yours. And he would do that and he would do that. And I joked, I was like, I think he programmed me with limitless thinking.
Mhm.
He just was, he didn't let me think anything couldn't be done. He didn't let me think anything couldn't be mine. So I could talk about it forever, obviously, but huge inspiration for me, and just seeing what's possible, seeing him do it first.
I know one thing too is you having your success now. I think he's just as proud of you as I know he is. He's just as proud of you as he is him. And I know another person that when he talks about it lights up your father and his grind. So I know you had like people in your circle that are just built to grind. But
Yeah,
other than family, because I know your family's big, and who else was there? Anybody outside of family that gave you that motivation to grind that way?
man. Well, my family's the biggest because we keep each other in check. We make sure we're all doing good. We're all up to something positive. Um, But outside of that, I mean, I've had friends, a lot of friends I went to college with, I can name off, just seeing them do things. Like, I get a lot of motivation just from seeing what other people are doing and seeing what other people are trying. And I'm always hitting people up and encouraging them. I know, like you said at the beginning of this podcast, a lot of times we don't give people their flowers when they introduce the new business or like they sell a certain amount of something. And I'm the type of person just like you who I'll go out of my way to say like, oh, I see what you're doing. I appreciate what you're doing. It's inspiring me. And just because I wish we had more people like that in the world. But long answer made sure a lot of friends from college, a lot of people back home just making moves, a lot of people who have moved from back home just making moves, just seeing everybody do positive things, man.
And then what was your, I forget offhand, what was your high school?
Feinstein.
Oh, Feinstein. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
How was that going into a small school like that?
Extremely small, but I think I made a lot of, well, I mean, like everybody in high school, but deep connections. Like Cam's one of my best friends from there. He's pretty known in Providence, makes great music. That's the one of the biggest people I think about at Feinstein because we still talk, still grind. You know, some people lose that motivation, some people keep it, but he's really kept it over the years, and I have. So whenever we get together, it's always good, positive type of conversation. But outside of that, I feel I feel like the more I talk to, the more I realize I just get motivation from seeing people do things, like from seeing my high school coach still coaching and still being involved with the kids and doing things like that. Like that's what I get it from. And seeing like my high school English teacher congratulate me on the book and stuff like that. That's where it really connects at.
Yeah, it was like crazy because I remember like when I started my flag football league, we started with about 200 kids. Now we're a little over 1,200 kids, and it's like somebody told me, oh, I knew you was gonna do that because that's your thing. I'm like, you know how hard it is to get what I'm doing. So sometimes people be
Yeah.
like, oh, I knew you were gonna do it. So with you, when they're like, oh, I knew you're gonna be do something successful. I knew this, but they don't know the grind it took to actually get where you're at,
Right.
to get the book going. For someone who's actually saying, oh, I want to do a book, I want to do this, explain that grind and what it takes to actually go through and get that book out there.
Man, it takes a ton of focus, a ton, man. I mean, and actually, when you were just talking, I thought of something funny too. How you're saying people don't see the grind, and like, man, my first 2-3 years in New York weren't easy. I was like, well, you thought I had to mention that, like I just told you, I didn't even have money to go out to eat like that until like year 2.5, 3, really. So like, you can imagine everything that happened. But to answer your question more specifically about the book is a ton of focus, man. A ton. Like I came up with the idea, like I'm gonna write a book. Just when it comes out, it'll be just about a year. It'll be like a year and a week. But it actually started out as like blog posts because I was like, all right, I really want to write about video marketing. I feel like for business owners and entrepreneurs, I've been shooting for 5 years. I've been in the agency world for 8 years. Now's my time to write it. So I actually started writing out blog posts. I was like, this is the first group of blog posts that I'm gonna write. And then when I wrote out the list and I rearranged it a little bit, I was like, man, so I could either come out with these blog posts or I could just make this thing one big book. And then from then on, that's how it became a book. It wasn't even like I was like, oh, I want to write a book. Um, so then obviously when the blog post came, that list, then I go through like a whole writing process. I actually follow a writing process from one of my favorite marketers. His name is Sean D. Souza. Sean D. Souza. But anyway, I mentioned that because in his process, he talks about like outlining and making sure you have connectors and making sure you have a bunch of stuff. So I go from outlining to the first draft, coming back. I finished the first draft of the book. Then I was actually home for a little bit, did the second draft of the book. And I thought I was done then. And now I'm at like 6-7 months. And then I read it again and I saw a whole bunch of stuff I wanted to change. So going through, and this is the whole book. It's a 150-page book altogether. So going through, did it again. And then when I got the proof copy, this is actually my second proof copy. But when I got the first proof copy, I started reading it like in hand. And I was like, I got to change this, change this, change this, change this, change this. So I've gone through this book probably 3-4 times, and I'll probably go through it one more time before it's available and after I get some more comments. But that's the type of grind that has to go with this supreme focus. And I think one very important thing that I actually want to mention here is one of my favorite books ever is called Deep Work. And I think everybody should read it. And the summary of it is you need to the people who are like really making a difference or really make a change, take that 2-3 hours a day and really just lock in on the thing they're trying to do. Like James working out two a days he does every day, but he's that great. Maya Angelou would sometimes sit in a hotel and write for 6-7 hours. Like, and I always like to joke and use like the example of Kanye's. I made 5 beats a day for every day for 3 summers. Like, and it's consistent. And people, and while you're there, like, don't worry about text messages. Don't worry about what's going on social media. None of that. Take that 1-2 hours a day and really lock in. So that's another thing I definitely implemented with this book.
Now, I know you say you're waiting for the comments to come back. And now when you do something for the first time, you gotta be a little nervous about the feedback. Is that something you're nervous about?
Yeah, but it's funny. I've been telling my brother, like, I've been mentally preparing myself for the feedback, man. Like, I did my best. I'm very confident in the book. I think people are going to get a lot from it. Even if you know a lot about marketing, you're going to learn a lot about video you didn't know. If you know a lot about video, you're going to learn a ton about marketing you didn't know. So just being in that space, I feel very comfortable, and I've already kind of mentally prepared for it. I mean, just the journey of writing the book, writing something. My cousin actually told me this. He's like, you wrote something that's going to last forever. And I didn't really think of it that way until he said it. But it's true. It's going to last forever. It is what it is. I put my best into it. And now whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, that's like one thing with me when I'm coaching. I had a different coach tell me, he's like, you've been running the same plays for the last 5 years. You don't change. And I'm like, I haven't lost a game in 5 years. Why would I?
Right.
So sometimes it's like when you have something that works and you want to put it out there, you put it out there, you just watch it grow. And
Right. And I bet you, go ahead.
I'll say the best thing about it is regardless of what, you'll get a critic here and there, but a lot of time the critic who's saying something negative is probably somebody who wishes they did it first.
Right. And I was going to say, I bet you now that you've run that play so much, you know it inside and out, you know how you can tweak it to make it better. You know how you could, everything. Like the proof is in the pudding.
But the funny part is that one play, it's run 5 different ways. It's just, you don't see it, but my guys know what they're doing. And that's the same thing with life, where people are like, oh, I've been in the scene. Like, even when I had my son later in life, and everyone's like, you waited so long. I'm like, man, I'm living my life. I'm like, mapping out what I'm gonna do and like doing stuff first. And I feel like everything has a plan. And now, as far as you, when you set your plans up and you talk about the book, are you more of a like, I'm gonna set this plan and let it go, or you 5 years down the road type of plan guy? How do you set your goals up?
To be honest, I feel like this has always sounded terrible, but I don't like planning like 5 years in advance.
Oh, you don't sound like your brother at all, huh?
No, I do not like planning 5 years in advance. I don't even think in years, and I'm actually kind of thinking out loud now because I never thought about exactly how I goal set, but I think this is where I want to go and what I want to do, and then I kind of work backwards and say, what do I need to do to get there? And all that stuff, all the steps I think of is like 2 years max, year and a half. Like last year, like I'm telling you right now, it was 12 months ago. I was like, I'm gonna write the book, and a year now, the book is here. So like that's more so how I think. And then obviously I have the steps that are coming after the book. So that's more so how I think, where it's more project based, as bad as that sounds, but.
So I know like you have a bunch of projects coming up, you have the book coming out, and the weather's starting to get nice out here and over there. You got any plans once COVID gets loosened up to get back out there?
Man, I can't wait. I hope to do more in-person shoots again. I mean, those are definitely starting to pick up again, so that's good news, but it's not like a natural thing to where it's just like, yeah, let's just work in person. Like people aren't like having conversations that way yet. It pops up, like I said again, but it's not a normal thing. So I'm looking forward to that, only because, and obviously, like you said, with the summer here, I usually shoot way more in the summer because it's easier to be outside and do things and like just be outdoors and at the beach. And even if I'm just doing a shoot outside, it's nice out, so like people aren't shivering in the video, like stuff like that. So I am looking forward to that too.
Yeah, I know, like here in Rhode Island, they just lifted the mask mandate, but they say if like if you've been vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. So anyone can say they've been vaccinated. So it's a different time. It's a scary time, but it's good to see people around you who grew up with you and grew up underneath you, like doing positive things. And I even mentioned, like, like I was saying earlier, with Essa, what he's doing, what you're doing,
Yeah.
and that group there is a positive group that's coming up. And like for you, it's like I know like you being in the field that you're in and being African American at times, it's gotta be tough. But that's why I want to shine light because a lot of times when people talk about the African American community, we're not getting the same shine. It's more like either the negative aspect or the sports aspect. And I want to
Yeah.
show these young kids, man, there's way more to it than life. If technology and STEM is what you're getting into, tap into that field. Because you're setting the example for even my son's 9 years old. And I could tell him because he loves taking photography. He has his camera. He got a little camera here he wanted to get into.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he didn't know about micro SIM cards. I'm like, no, you need to get the micro SIM card.
Yeah.
Now he needs an
Yeah.
adapter. So I went out to get him the adapter. So I tell him, whatever you need for you to chase your dream, I'll go get it. So how do you feel like
Right.
being there's been probably plenty of times you were only African American in the room, but you're still shining bright. How's it feel to put that pressure on and exceed at it?
I feel like I've definitely been in those rooms to answer your question. I've dealt with, I mean, I'll say it on here. I've definitely dealt with a lot of racist moments, especially these are the biggest brands and agencies in the world. So a lot of people are very competitive in like a negative way. I've met some great people through it too, but I think honestly, to your earlier question, I think Laundry prepared me a lot for that.
Mhm.
Just knowing what I'm gonna face and knowing I have to be great anyway through it, and don't let any of that stop you. As long as you do good work, as long as you're dedicated to your work and you work hard, then like I just know I'm smart enough to get it done from there. Like, and I think that confidence comes from knowing my brother did it. All my brothers have done it, but I know Monray's really dealt with it in a deep way and in New York and real and everything. So just that motivation from him, like no matter what, just be you, be smart, work hard, just the regular stuff and get it done. So I think just seeing an example with that helped a lot.
I know we touched on it earlier, but I know we gotta bring it up and shout out the Boys and Girls Club. If you gotta say what's your biggest memories of growing up back then, what do you think it would be?
Man, honestly, that's one of the greatest experiences of my life, man. Seriously. Only because it was kind of rough. I think we can both admit that, but it was a good way. Like you need some of that. And just know the people I met through there, the experiences I had, some young fun, some dumb fun, some dodgeball, some basketball, flag football, all that stuff. But just it was one of the greatest experiences of my life, man. And for so many reasons, I think it gave me, for lack of a better word, like an edge
Mhm.
of just like there's no because the Boys and Girls Club wasn't an easy place to just be. Like you
Yeah.
always you always had to you have your Burger King under the desk and then somebody takes it. And then like it's like stuff. I mean, there was that. There's also the good stuff, obviously, like Tim.
Mm.
Huge shout out to Tim, just coordinating everything and things like that. But yeah, man, it was one of the greatest experiences of my life, seriously. And I'm saying that after living in New York for a while too.
And that's one thing, man. Like the Boys and Girls Club, it's like it prepares you in other ways, like not just in the sports sense, but it prepares you like at all times. Like you never know who you're gonna meet or who you're gonna go into. Like,
Yep.
and it's crazy because Providence is just so small. Like I grew up with you, and even though that I meet Lonray, and
Yep.
you remember Nani, right?
Of course.
Yeah, that's my wife's cousin. I didn't even find out till
What?
yeah, I didn't find out till years later.
I haven't heard his name in a minute.
Yeah, he just passed away 2 weeks ago. Yeah, rest in
Oh,
peace, big guy. But
rest
yeah,
in
the
peace.
funny part is, it was like she was telling me that, oh, I have a my goddaughter. You and my goddaughter would be great. I was like, now your family's crazy. And then I ended up dating her goddaughter. And now we've been married. So it's just
That's
it's
nuts,
just the
man.
way the world works, and it's just so Providence is so small. That's why it's a melting pot, a little bit of everything.
For
And I know for
sure,
you,
man.
like, what's something that you took out of Providence that helped you?
Um, Honestly, this is a little bit of a different answer.
Hmm.
But I feel like coming from, I didn't really realize this until I got like deep into New York lifestyle. But Providence really introduces you to everything growing up. Like most, I would say 8 out of 10 people in New York who I meet are used to being around one kind of race, or like one kind of, like they're used to eating one kind of food, like for a small example, one kind of something, or like they don't see people dressing like a certain way in fashion, and like they come from all these places. And coming from Providence, I never experienced that. I'm like, I have some of my best friends are white, some of my best friends are black. I have great friends who are Asian. Like I've eaten all kinds of food. Like we like to dress nice in a certain way in Providence. I feel like so a whole bunch of little things, but just exposure. I feel like coming, maybe it's because of the size of Providence. I don't know the reason why, but I just feel like I was exposed to a lot more than most people I meet in New York. So that's the biggest thing I got from Providence. I feel comfortable in any room, honestly.
I know, like for me, when I left and went to the military and traveled around, and I
Hmm.
mentioned Providence, everyone was like, "Oh, I love Providence. I love going to Waterfire. I love going to Little Italy." I'm like, "Huh? That's what I avoid. I avoid those spots. I don't want to be. I don't want to be caught in Waterfire or go down Federal Hill on a Friday or
Right,
Saturday."
right.
I've always just been a loner, and I mainly just stay home because I stay out of the crowd. And I know what for you, like with the boys and girls, because you was always quiet and kind of kept to yourself and kept with like your small crew. Did you come out of that shell through high school, or was it more college coming out?
Um, that's a good question because I definitely was like that, and I feel like it was. I guess if I had to say it was high school, I think it grew little by little just because even though I was like that, I always liked to adventure and I always liked to go places, which was a big reason I moved to New York right after college. But I would say high school, just meeting more people, getting out there more, seeing more things. But little by little, it just got bigger and bigger. But I feel like I'm that same way today, but it's a little bit different to where I'm still a little bit, for the most part, introverted. But I definitely know how to go out and meet people and have a good time. I mean, you can't live in New York if you don't.
Yeah,
Um, so I think I have a little bit of both now, but I would say high school is where it started to. I kind of opened up a little more.
definitely, man. Definitely, again, I wanted to bring you on and salute you and give you a rose and tell you how proud of you I am. But
No, man, it means a lot coming from you, especially, man. Somebody who's seen me, who's seen it all, who knows where we come from, what we come from. It means a lot coming from you, man. Seriously.
I appreciate it, man. But before we almost get into the rapid fire, I want you to, if you can, just introduce your book a little bit more, so we can give you a time, get that
Oh
book
yeah.
shine. I could talk about you and how proud of you I am all day, but that book is your
Right.
baby, man. Introduce your baby.
Man, it was. I wasn't trying to be too salesy or too weird about it, but
Oh,
this
no.
is the book is called Modern Video Marketing. It'll be out late June, and it's about it's for business owners and entrepreneurs. So anyone who wants to sell anything is who I wrote it for. And the reason why I wrote it is because talking to people who have these businesses, even young people, old people, everybody in between, I realized like there's a lot of basic video stuff and marketing stuff that they don't know that if they did and they used it, then I think it could definitely contribute to their business in big ways. So in this book, I write about like how to write scripts that sell. I write about how to shoot and how to get videos done without hiring a videographer, what the whole process is if you want to get videos done for your business yourself. What separates the new companies and the new businesses using video in the right way and making money from it from the old companies. A quick intro to advertising, I'm looking at my own table of contents right now, how the tiniest changes in your video could sway your results. So there's a whole bunch of little things you can change in the video um, that'll sway your results and make people see it differently. So the book's about 150 pages to my surprise. Um, but that's what it is. If anyone's interested in it, you can go to buyrook.com/book and sign up for updates. It'll be available late June. I'm just not exactly what day yet. Right now, I'm aiming for June 28th, but we'll see. But that's buyrook.com, BYROUK.com/book. If anybody's interested in grabbing it. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely be grabbing it. One thing too I love about was when you posted the link, you put up like the pricing and everything else about the book. And
Yeah.
I love the way you introduced it, but not only that, but you talked about the reason why you put the price in because you want to see the feedback. And I know it's like every time you do anything, you're doing it, yeah, to make money, but I feel like you're also doing that to genuinely help people. And that's
Yeah.
something that's different than a lot of people, where a lot of people is like, I got to make my money. But I feel like this book's really not about the money for you. It's about genuinely helping people. And that's the good kind of person you are. That's what makes you different than a lot of people out here who's quote unquote grinding, where they have something they want to put out there to make money, but you're out here doing something that's going to help other people make money on top of their own.
Exactly, man. I mean, yes, that is 100% true. But to be completely honest, like I'm trying to make my money maybe on the back end through services / in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But you are absolutely right. I wanted to get it out, get it into people's hands because it's to me like I could have slapped a crazy price on it or whatever, and I actually eventually do have to put a price on it just because of marketing purposes. But for at least the first 30 days, maybe even the first 60, I don't really want to charge for it. Like even when I do put a price, it's not going to be that expensive. But there's way more value in this book in me getting it to more people than me making $10 from you, $15 from you. Like that's a short term think away, and I'm thinking more long term. So the book will be like you were saying, it will be at cost plus shipping. So literally, what the book cost me, which is $2 and change, and then shipping, which is probably be around $5, six the max. That's all people have to give me to get this book. So definitely,
It's crazy how some people see that and be like, I don't know if I want to spend $7, but you'll get a
yeah,
Starbucks coffee for 8. You're putting out something that's going to help them in the long run, but they'd rather
right,
get a Starbucks coffee. But that's just the world we live in sometimes, which separates some people from others. Where you have some
right.
kids at the basketball court shooting half court shots, where the other ones are taking care of their free throws. It's the difference.
Hey, we all want to be Steph Curry. I'm not mad at them.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta hit that free throw first because you end up being like Giannis in the MVP, but you can't hit a free throw from the line
Right,
when you need it. So,
right, right.
but again, so we're almost gonna wrap up. So I got a couple rapid fire questions for you. First things that come to your head, some fun ones.
I'm a little afraid, but let's do it.
Oh no, nothing to be afraid about. The first one is inspired by my son, big Fortnite player. That's his go-to.
Yeah.
He has me ask everybody: you jump out of an airplane, you gotta survive on a desert island. You and 5 people. Who you taking?
Man, me and 5 people. I mean, I don't know anyone who's personally know anyone. Do I have to know them personally, or can I
No,
just
they
make?
can be celebrities. A couple people said they're taking the rock.
How long do I know how long I'm going to be on the island for?
1 week.
1 week. I'm taking 3 survival experts. um, 3 survival experts, a nice young lady, and Drewski, comedian Drewski, because he's funny.
I just seen him. He's doing a thing with Mountain Dew. Yeah. All
That's
right.
what I'll do.
When you're all done, I know you'll love this question. You get to have a meal from anywhere in the world. What are you having? Your one go-to.
Man, my favorite. That's man. You got me really thinking.
You're a food blogger too, so you know some good ones.
Yeah, the library's deep. That's why I'm going through it right now. The library is very deep. My favorite restaurant, and it's not necessarily my favorite food. My favorite restaurant in New York is called Red Rooster.
Mhm.
And if I had to pick one place to eat, I think that would be the place. I don't know if that would be if they would have the dish, but that would be the place.
Nice. And then they're all done. Your dream concert. Any 3 artists, dead or alive.
Any three.
Any three.
So my first one that came to mind immediately is this dude named Toro y Moi, and he has this song called "Never Matter." It would just be crazy. I want to see that song. Yeah, I don't think I'm ever gonna be able to see that song live, but if I could see that song live, I feel like I would just die happy next day. um, the next one after that is a dude named FKJ, and he does. It's really really talented artist. This is French dude. I actually work to his music a lot. It's more like electronic, vibey. That's what my friends like to call it, the vibey type music. But what he does is like sometimes he'll do like headphones, and then he'll like connect because he'll play guitar, he'll play the bass, he'll play like 5, 6 instruments at once
Oh
and
wow.
make his own beats from it. So sometimes he gives people headphones and he'll have silent shows where he just does live sets on all the instruments.
Oh, wow.
So that I don't want to see. And then my third one, only because I haven't seen him yet, will be Hov.
I keep saying, but I think that's what separates you from so many people is even when I just asked you musician, anyone could have said, Hov, Kanye, whatever else, but you shout out people that a lot of people won't know. And I think
Yeah.
that someone just makes you different. You're genuinely trying to plug everyone you can and give them their time to shine too. And that's what makes some people different, man. It's just anyone could just be like, I'm gonna do my book and salute me, but you take time to constantly plug other people, whether it be a teacher, whether it be different artists and different restaurants.
Yeah.
I respect that and I salute that.
Man, one of the biggest things about me is I feel like there's room for all of us to eat. I feel like there's room for everybody to get credit for the work they do. I feel like it's an abundance mindset, man. People hang on to stuff so much, like, but there's room for all of us. I don't care if you write a video marketing book tomorrow. I'm posting that shit everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't. So like that's how I am. I don't feel like anything anyone else is doing takes away from me. So I'm always abnormally happy for other people. Like, I know some people think it's fake. I know some people think it's not a real emotion that I'm giving, but I'm like, man, I don't run out of happiness for other people. And number one, it's because of abundance. Number two, I know I'm going to be highly successful. So all I do is show love.
This next one, I'm gonna put you on a spot, and this one is gonna make some of your friends unhappy.
Yeah.
So you need an all-time 5 dodgeball team from the Boys and Girls Club.
Oh man.
Who's on your team?
Darren.
Bucci.
You gotta have Darren. Darren was, man, he was the scariest to me when I was a kid. So I gotta have Darren. I gotta have Emmanuel Tutu because he's sneaky. I gotta have Darby. Darby was good. He was like stealth with it. So I gotta have Darby. I'll take Saheed. Rest in peace, Saheed, man.
Rest in peace, Saheed.
I'll take him because he used to just make miracles happen. As you know, he used to just make crazy things happen. And then I have one more. Who am I going with? I think I'm going with Banker. That's a fun.
Him and Saheed on the same team. Someone's cheating now.
No, for real. That's how Saheed makes it happen. And I met, damn. And I know he's gonna be mad, so I'm gonna say his name because I just thought it. Kenny.
Kenny, which one?
Kenny Dos Santos.
Oh man, Kenny, yeah.
Kenny, him. But I'll pick him first for Flag. He was nasty at Flag.
Well, if you have Flag, you pick it first. Come on, whoa.
Yeah.
The old man,
Kenny was nice, man.
The old man still got a little bit of leg left.
Yeah.
And then finally, before we wrap up, man, again, I keep saying it, but I'm proud of you, man. I salute you for everything you're doing, but not just about the book, but just the young man that you grew up into and the man that you are now, coming from the Onlyville Boys and Girls Club, coming from Providence, where a lot of time we don't get the recognition unless we have a ball or a mic in the hand, and you're doing it with a book in your hand, and you're doing it behind with a camera. And I salute that. I tell everybody, my son's 9 years old, and he's starting to dream, and he's starting to have visions. And one of his dreams wanted to be to get behind that camera, do the same thing you're doing. So what do you tell my son for advice? What do you tell him to go chase his dream?
The first thing I tell him is call me because you're Will's son. But
that's what I'm talking about.
But the second thing I'll tell him is, man, don't be afraid to see what other people are doing. Don't be afraid to experiment. Don't be afraid to just try stuff. Because honestly, like, what I see these younger kids doing is like sorcery, man. These TikTok kids on Instagram, all these kids making videos now, they were born with it. Like, unlike us, they were born with all the tools they need to make these videos. So they're looking at video completely different. I think over the next like 5-10 years, we're going to see a lot of that. So I would tell him, just look at who inspires you, try to recreate stuff. That's a big thing that helped me learn, is like, oh, I saw that. And then I try to figure it out. Like, how did he shoot that? Like, how did he go from there to there? What equipment did he use? And that helps too. But just explore the curiosity. Number one, whatever you want to make is cool. Like, he doesn't have any clients yet, I don't think, your son. So So he'll be fine. Like whatever you want to make is cool. Make sure you have enough external hard drives and stuff like that for video, because it's gonna take up all your computer space. But yeah, curiosity, man. I think that's the biggest thing for him at this age. And then to call me too, I can answer anything. So
And fine, one more time before we go, plug your book. Let them know where they can find it. Let them know where they can find you again.
man, Modern Video Marketing is the book. It's coming out late next month, late June 2021. Nice little drawing on there. Shout out to Gabriela Viras, who was my cover designer. But it's coming. If you have a business, if you have a product, a service, anything you're trying to sell, you'll love this book. The link to get more info again is byrouk.com/book. That's byrouk.com/book. And if you want to find me, I'm on Instagram at it's Rouk at ITSROUK, and Twitter as Rouk ROUK.
Definitely. Thanks again for coming on, man. You stay safe out there. You know, COVID's loosening up. Get out there, take some pictures, man, and enjoy your life. And I can't wait for this book to come out.
Thank you, man. We have to get together soon. I'll be in Providence. Now we reconnected through all this. So
yeah, definitely. Let me know when you're here, man. I'll free my schedule. Well, you got the schedule and that, man. I never seen that before.
yeah, it comes in handy, man.
Yeah, my wife's been driving me because you need to set up a calendar, about Google Calendar. I was like, what's Google Calendar? And you sent me a way, man. I just be
You
like,
should
just
get on
text
it.
me or message me.
Yeah. I definitely will, man. It's been way too long.
Definitely. Can't wait to see you, man.
For sure. Thanks again, Will.
Definitely salute you.